There's nothing open for voting. Commissioner Alton? Present. Commissioner Creighton?
Present.
Commissioner Acevedo? Present. Commissioner Leese? Present. Commissioner Brooks?
Present.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Present.
Chairman Morelli? Case number 3328, application of SMAY 644 Management LLC of 200 Garden City Plaza, Garden City, New York, for a variance on the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the City of Long Beach, New York. 9-113.2A off-street parking curb cut size, 9-113.2G off-street parking for new off-street parking in the front yard at 644 East Broadway, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 190, Lot 24 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, Chairman Morelli. Kenneth Apple, 30 West Park Avenue, Suite 202, Long Beach. Here tonight on behalf of the applicant, SAMY 644 Management LLC. We're seeking a simple variance for front yard parking. Just some background on this property. As you know, it's located on the south side of East Broadway. In the rear of this building is Shore Road. There's several multifamily elevated buildings, 600, 630, 650, 666 Shore Road, 700, 750, 711 Shore Road, and a block to the west is 25 Neptune and 522 Shore Road. Broadway itself has several multifamily dwellings, and parking in this area, as you well know, is challenging at best. This property was purchased by the applicant in 2019. It's a multifamily dwelling, and what we're seeking tonight is approval for 4 parking spaces in the front of the residence with a new curb cut. Just to be clear, the parking spaces all conform with the parking code. They're going to be 9 by 20 each, so there's no variance being sought for that. It's merely just the front yard parking. The curb cut is not going to eliminate any off-street parking. There's no parking on the south side Broadway. All of the legal parking on the street is the perpendicular spaces in the center of the street. Therefore, we're not eliminating any current parking spaces for the residents surrounding it. This application has been granted by the board in the past at both 516 East Broadway and 549 East Broadway. One of the biggest concerns, obviously, in Long Beach and to the board is parking. And in this application, the applicant is actually relieving the surrounding area of 4 parking spaces at no cost or detriment to anybody. Not only has the board granted this previously, on this block alone, the following addresses have front yard parking: 610 East Broadway, 612 East Broadway, 616, 630, and 634, and our direct neighbor, 648 East Broadway.
So, just a couple of questions, Jeff. So now, basically, the curb cut is going to total 36 feet. So basically, the property is 40. So the cars are just going to head straight in up until the building with the 9 feet required, giving you the 36 feet, let's say, and there'll be a couple of feet on each side.
Yes.
At the end of it to the property.
Yes.
Okay. And as you mentioned, there are immediate neighbors and local neighbors who have the same thing. Just to give us a little background, so basically, the building, what is the setback from the front of the building now that is to the property?
I believe it's 20 feet.
So basically, all the cars are going to be right to the street, I mean, right to the sidewalk.
They'll be within the property lines, yes.
Any members of the board have any questions?
How many units in the,
I believe it's 4.
4 units? Okay.
4 units, 4 spots.
Yeah.
The only comment I'll make is that we've granted this in the past, but we've always asked for some aesthetics since you're taking all the green away, like a boundary or something like that. It's really a code thing, but it would be a fair suggestion for the sidewalk.
I think that I could convince my client to comply with that request. That shouldn't be a problem.
All right. Anybody from the audience? For or against? Okay. I'm going to move to grant with the condition written into the record that some greenery be provided to the
Or
aesthetic.
paper details.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, that we can work out the specifics of it, but I would like to place it as a condition that I would grant it, as long as he does something aesthetically to the building. All right?
It should be accepted. Thank you.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Case number 3328, application of SMY 644 Management LLC of 200 Garden City Plaza, Garden City, New York, for a variance on the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the City of Long Beach, New York. 9-113.2A off-street parking, curb cut size, 9-113.2G off-street parking, for new off-street parking in the front yard at 644 East Broadway, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 190, Lot 24, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application with conditions. Commissioner Leonetti has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Acevedo?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Lees? Commissioner Brooks?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant with condition.
Chairman Morelli.
Granted.
This application has been granted with the conditions stated on the record.
Thank you.
Case number 3329, application of Edwin Veriseggi of 229 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard, 9-105.5D side yard, for a new front yard deck and side yard stairs at 66 Delaware Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 238, Lot 21, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening. Mr. Veriseggi, come up, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, give us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Edwin Versteggi, 229 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York.
Okay. So, Mr. Veriseggi, just, we've seen the application, just describe it for us, please.
Yeah, well, this is my house that I'm keeping it, and for the family, what I'm trying to do is keep the front porch when I repair the house, the foundation, and I want to do just like everybody else did it. And with the side entrance also where it's going to be opening for emergency, like the fire department, the police could walk around, so it's no blockade of seal like I see all the houses. So I'm trying to do my best to keep
What's the lot size? Is the lot size is
40 by 60.
30 by
30 by
60.
60.
So the question I had when I looked at the drawing and also, this is the side view, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when the deck comes around, now that gives you the 0 feet on the south side, right? The question I have is the 0 feet going to arise from any kind of stairway, or is it going to arise from the actual physical deck that's going to wrap around into that space?
It's gonna be from the deck that wraps around, and it's gonna come down like into the side of the house, but also right after, before I go up, like before I step, the first step, it's gonna be like a 4 or 5 feet opening, so you can always work around. It's not gonna like obstruct anything, like if somebody wants to work, they go to school, it's gonna be open.
Okay, so then the question becomes, when the deck comes around, what is really on the, and I just want to make clear of this. So the deck itself, then it comes out, it juts out from the house line by how many feet? The measurement here I'm seeing, what, like 3 feet?
Yes,
Okay. So the measurement of the 3 feet brings the house to, it shouldn't be 0 then, because isn't the setback 4 feet?
correct.
So there should be a foot, right? Because it says 0 feet on the application. So then from that point where the deck comes out, let's say about 3 feet, unless I'm reading it incorrectly, from the side of the house, then you have the staircase coming down into the side of the house. So to be clear, the intrusion at 0 feet is not the entire side yard, right?
Right, well, but you
It's
always
just
will
where
go
the
around it.
staircase is.
It's gonna be open porch.
Yeah, no, I know that. But what I'm saying is, the open porch is in the back of the house. The concern that I have is reading the 0 feet in between the two houses. So,
Chairman
I'm a little
Morelli?
confused, number one, of the 0 feet, because what I see is that it should be a 4-foot setback. So
Correct.
instead of 0 feet, if you have 3 feet, it should really be 1 foot, right? Am I
Currently,
correct?
there should be a 4-foot setback, but currently, he has 3.5 feet.
I see.
So it's only gonna be a half foot.
Okay. So basically, though, the staircase that comes down, that eats up that space into 0 feet, is approximately, looking at it, is about 25% to maybe 30% the length of the house. Am I correct? The rest of it remains at the 3.5 feet
Correct.
position, right? Okay. So the question was, there's really no other way to remedy the back stair from that deck, because you can't really put the staircase into the backyard or any other place, right?
I did try to make it happen, and then it's my,
Because I'm wondering if there's any way off the back of the house, when I look at this deck, is there any way that a staircase could go into the yard without requiring a variance? You know what I mean, like just kind of coming down off the back of the deck, rather than projecting out into the front of the deck? Because I know sometimes, you know, neighbors are concerned. I mean, to a positive side, it doesn't extend the entire length of the house, and it is really only a staircase that comes down, as I see it.
Well, the entire front of the house is open. You know, the garage door is another 20 feet back from the front. Why couldn't that staircase be inside there?
Well, we needed the parking lot for the kids to use.
Yeah, well,
I tried,
you'd
but-
still have 16 feet wide in there, wider than your garage door.
Well, I tried, but, you know, we want to use like everybody else did it. You know, I'm trying to figure it out, like, you know, the neighbors did it, I want to do the same way, so, you know,
I know, we've been trying to avoid getting the decks to extend beyond the width of the house.
okay.
And what yours does is the deck extends the full width of the property.
All right. And one side, yeah. And one side, because the other side is not gonna be, it's gonna be even with the house. The one,
I'm sorry, that the decks stay within the width of the house. Yes, on one side, you're showing it extending one side to the property line.
So I have a question. Like, if the stairs are coming from like the back of the house towards the front up onto the deck, and you have a 0 lot line, how do you get to the stairs?
You
It's gonna
walk
be
under,
a-
you
it's gonna
walk
be a-
underneath
it's gonna
the
be a-
carport, and then to the right.
It doesn't show that. It shows like the
It's
house.
hard to see, I
It
couldn't
shows
figure,
like he needs an easement to go to the.
no, you go under the house,
correct,
and then turn right at the end of the stairs.
correct.
Under the house.
The house is raised up in the front.
What, do you have to go in the door and then come around and then,
Come in like where the cars are gonna pull in,
yeah?
Yep.
and then you go to the right, there's an opening in that wall.
But
This will be-
in A2, Section 3, it looks like the house goes all the way up to
Now, look on
the
A1.
deck.
Look on A1. A1 on the ground floor plan.
So the door is cut into the frame of the foundation then, in A1.
Yeah, yeah, the walkthrough.
Right here, it's cut in. So there's a foundation in there that goes all the way out.
You come in here like this.
So this is
So you gotta come in the door.
No, there's no door there.
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I think, that's a
yeah,
opening.
opening in the foundation wall.
Yeah, yeah, that's why you're gonna come in here and go out there. Now, what I'm saying is, why not just put the stair here?
So what's this?
That's way back here. That's this.
Oh, that's set back before you.
That's how you
Bring that foundation wall all the way out here. So, this in here is the door. But this foundation wall goes all the way out here. You know what I mean? So if you look here.
Mr. Stevens, there's just a question, if you could describe it verbally for the record too. The question is, there was a little confusion as to how one would access that deck. So if I'm correct, basically, you would walk in under the deck where the, you know, the garage area is. You'd make a right there. That area there provides a setback where then when you get to the end, or let's say where the staircase line would be, you would make a left
Right.
right there under the deck, in the front, under the front deck. You make a left, and that's how you gain access to the
Correct.
stairs. You don't have to go into that, you're not squeezing into that half foot that exists to walk around it and get back.
You're making a right,
You're making a right once you go
make a
in.
right, not a left.
All right, there was just a little, I don't know if it was really all that clear on the drawing of it. The way it's, you know, it's perceived, Mike, right on, A2. A2 looks like, you know, the staircase is right there where he's gonna get to it. But on A1, as you mentioned, you can see that you can get right under the deck.
Correct.
Where the parking area is, correct?
You park,
Does everybody see that, or is it confusing?
not much space to do that either.
But your foundation wall still extends much further out than the ground floor of the house, pretty much to the deck
It's
line.
gonna be exactly up to the existing house, the foundation. But under the parking lot, it's gonna be like, I believe, like a 5 feet opening. So if you park the car, you get out, make a right, and then another right to go up the steps and go
Gotcha.
into the deck.
Okay.
So then, if you make left, it's gonna be still the 4 feet all the way around. It's not gonna be.
The
Very good. I think
fire
everybody
department still has
understands and
access.
sees it now, right? That's good.
And then the fire department still have access to the rear of your yard through the same way, direction? Okay.
Is there anyone from the audience want to speak to Dave? Anyone against? All right, anybody want to make a motion on the case?
I'll make a motion to grant.
Case number 3329, application of Edwin Barisegi of 229 East Fulton Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard, 9-105.5D side yard, for a new front yard deck and side yard stairs at 66 Delaware Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 238, Lot 21, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Commissioner Creighton has introduced a motion to grant the application. Chairman Morelli has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton? Grant. Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Acevedo?
Grant.
Commissioner Lees?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Deny.
Chairman Morelli. This application has been granted.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Case number 3106, application of Paul Martin, West Beach Grill Corp. and PRM Realty 2 Corp. of 945 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-106.14, new bar, 9-11216 off-street parking, for a renewal of variance number 3106 for a new bar at 945 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 231, Lot 51, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Dennis G. Kelly, 120 West Park Avenue, Suite 311, Long Beach, New York, 11561. Here on behalf of the applicant, Paul Martin. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I have a handout for each of you.
Just, Mr. Kelly, just to be clear for the record, what's the name of the establishment right next to the house?
It's West Beach Grill Corp. The bungalow. The bungalow is the business. It's the bungalow, yeah. It's on the, right, exactly. Yes. Well, maybe the first one's for me, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, there's some petitions in there, too.
Right. So as this is a renewal, Mr. Kelly, I'll, we'll move this along.
Right.
because There's really no reason to rehear the whole case. I need to reference the record of the last case.
Right, so,
My question to you is, has there been any change
no, none whatsoever. So,
establishment since this variance was granted in 2019?
no, as a matter of fact, and I'll let Mr. Martin address you in a moment, I took photographs this morning, and that's what you have in your packets, and they're almost the exact same as to what was presented, what was that, 3.5 years ago, when you granted the resolution in July of 2019. Mr. Martin is requesting the same variance with the same,
Renewal of the same variance, right?
right, with the same conditions.
Conditional renewal. Okay, so there has not been any change, anyone can reference the record of the previous case.
Correct.
And we can maybe even enter that into our record for this evening, for the sake of procedures. Does anyone have any questions on this case? Approve 2019, or changes? Anyone from the audience, for or against? No, no one from the audience, I'll move it.
I'll second.
Case number 3106, application of Paul Martin, West Beach Grill Corp. and PRM Realty 2 Corp. of 945 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-106.14 new bar, 9-11216 off-street parking, for a renewal of variance number 3106 for a new bar at 945 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 231, Lot 51, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Creighton has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Acevedo?
Grant.
Commissioner Leese? Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli. This application has been granted.
Thank you very much.
Case number 3330, application of David Shokrian and Riverside Beach LLC of 100 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.2B height for construction of a new two-family house at 269 Neptune Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 171, Lot 140, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Kenneth Apple. Good evening, Chairman. Kenneth Apple, 30 West Park Avenue, Suite 202, on behalf of the applicant Riverside Beach LLC. This property, as you know, is at Neptune and Walnut. It's a corner home.
I've just been advised by counsel, I'm going to recuse myself on this case because 269 Neptune is one corner away from my house. It's a short block, so I'm going to recuse myself on the case. Because this is the house, to be sure, that's on the corner of Neptune and Walnut Street, am I
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay, I'm on Neptune now. So I'll step out and you shouldn't need anyone here to take.
Sure. Okay, so carry
It's a
on.
corner property. We have no neighbor to the south, the corner of Neptune and Walnut. It's approximately a quarter mile from the beach, so it's not obstructing any views. The applicant's owned the home for approximately 20 years and has completely rebuilt it into a FEMA-compliant home, which is a two-family home. During construction of the home, the applicant submitted plans which completely conform with the code and sought no variances from the zoning board. During construction, apparently the framer, while framing the roof, made a miscalculation on the angle, and after construction was completed during the final inspections, it was detected the home was, according to the building department, 1 foot 10 inches over the 25-foot height requirement, necessitating our application and our appearance in front of the board tonight. The first, second, and third floors were all built to plans, and it was the roof and only the roof that caused this issue when the framing was done. Correcting it would be an exorbitant cost, which would probably exceed $50,000. Everything would have to be ripped off, which is clearly not reasonable in comparison to coming to the board for a variance for height. There obviously have been height variances granted by the board, 48 Maryland, 27 Maryland just a year ago, 450 East Beach Street, which is close to this property. What makes this application even more reasonable and unique is the fact that the city just recently, last week, changed their code requiring, regarding the freeboard, which is now 3 feet opposed to 2 feet. So we're going to see homes built a foot higher going forward, you know, within the city with the extra foot. So from a street height perspective, it's only within under a foot of what would be the height limit. To go through a legal criteria, this is not going to have any undesirable change to the neighborhood. As stated, in my opinion, it's actually very consistent with the neighborhood, and it's a benefit to the neighborhood. It's a brand-new home. It's worth a lot more. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it's going to greatly improve the surrounding homes. This cannot be achieved by any other means. Obviously, due to this error, the only way to rectify this is to come to you, as opposed to the exorbitant expense of ripping the roof off. The variance is not substantial. It's less than 2 feet, really less than a foot, considering the new change to the code regarding the additional foot of freeboard. And lastly, it's not going to impact the neighborhood negatively or have an adverse effect. I don't think anybody's even going to notice it was built. It was just a calculation error. And I believe this meets all the legal criteria. Again, we're coming to you for relief as opposed to the alternative. It's certainly, the benefits of this outweigh any detriment to the surrounding neighborhood. So we ask for your consideration on this, and we obviously come to you hat in hand on this one. We come to you hat in hand on this one.
Couple of questions.
Yes.
House is not occupied yet?
No.
And the main reason is financial hardship, that it would be involved in rebuilding the roof on the house?
It would be an exorbitant cost because of this error.
Yeah. You know, the 50 grand is probably not far off, I'm guessing.
Right about that.
Who's the, you said the framer made a mistake. Is that the owner, or is it the subcontractor, or
Dave? Yes. Who's the framer?
could you come up and name and address, please?
Who's the framer?
If you could repeat your question.
I said,
David,
who,
give your name and address for the record.
David Shokrian, 100 West Park Avenue, Long Beach, New York.
Mr. Apple said the framer made the mistake.
Yes.
So is the framer a subcontractor, or is he?
Yes, he's my subcontractor.
Okay, so you're the contractor, general contractor and owner,
Yes,
and you hired a subcontractor.
yes.
Okay, so isn't he financially liable for his error? Wouldn't he be?
No.
Does he have insurance?
Yeah, I'm sure
Liability
he has
insurance?
insurance. Yeah, I'm sure he has insurance.
Okay.
I'm not going after his insurance.
I can't hear you.
He said he's not going after his insurance.
You know, they charge $20,000 to build a house. You know,
But it's his insurance.
I'm not sure, you know, I understand what you're saying. You know, he has insurance for, in case his people get hurt on the job or anything else like that. I don't think his insurance covers, you know, his mistakes. As to my understanding, or any other contractor that I have, you know, insurance doesn't cover their mistakes. It's for safety measures that if anybody gets hurt on the job, I am covered and they are covered. You know, my insurance, as you know, requires me, although I have my own insurance for liability purposes, it's required that every subcontractor who works for me, they
No.
should have their own workman comp and liability. Their insurance does not cover mistakes.
There's such a thing called general liability insurance, and that's something when a company says they're licensed and insured that they ordinarily have. And you don't have to take my word for it. You could speak with your attorney, Mr. Apple, with respect to your contract with general liability insurance. And that covers mistakes.
Problem is, we've had several instances where, mistakes were made in construction, and it's too much to to take it apart and do it over. So every time it happens and we approve it, people might try and take advantage of that. That's why we aren't too keen on making exceptions for that.
You know, we are asking for 10 inches.
I understand.
Correct. And under
It's
no-
actually it was 2 feet from when it was approved, closer to 2 feet.
Yeah,
I
but-
know the code has changed since then.
Right, and
But not when the mistake
if we
was
had not,
Sorry?
But not when the mistake was made.
Right.
correct, but this is the code now. If I had time, you know, when we submitted new plans to building department to show the extra height that we require here, we submitted new plans, which these new plans, reflect that. I didn't have time before this meeting to modify those plans and take advantage of the code so that's what would be reflected on the plans. If I had time, I think the code was just changed last week. If not, I did have the right to modify my plans and submit it again to building department. Then in that case, the extra height required would have been 10 inches.
When you say you didn't have the time, what does that mean?
You know, only last week, the new code was approved. For me to submit new plans and get the new denial letter, there wasn't enough time.
Until
this meeting,
until say
for the-
next month or something. It could happen by next month.
The denial letter is approximately 4 to 6 weeks.
To modify, if not, we could have done that, and then we would have been here asking for 10 inches in extra height.
You've built a lot of homes in Long Beach.
Yes.
It's a lot of nice homes. Have you ever had a problem like this before?
No, as you know, I've never been in front of this board to ask for for any type of variance for a project which was already done. I don't recall. To my knowledge, I have never been here.
Okay.
Do you remember, do you know of
I
some?
thought I remembered one, yeah.
No, not as built.
Regarding a front door setback or,
Front door setback.
okay.
Mr. Shogren, how does a mistake like this happen? I mean, did they use the incorrect pitch of the roof? I mean, how does this happen with, I would have to think, an experienced framer?
He's experienced framer, and mistakes do happen. You know, this is the angle of the rafter that, you know, how they cut the first one, and then, you know, every other one, you know, would follow the same angle, and, you know, they all come to the ridge. You know, they meet each other at the ridge.
Was there a height variance on the original?
No, we never asked for height. No,
Okay,
the
so
house
when you
was
first
built-
submitted it, there was no height variance necessary?
No.
There were no variances at all necessary.
Okay, thank you.
So-
Because usually, if it's too high, we ask you to lower the pitch on the roof. And when I walked by, and when I saw the plans, I said, wow, he could have saved 2 feet here easily by lowering the pitch on the roof.
So
And
the-
2 foot on a rafters, when it's, you know, it's not the whole house. When you see 2 foot on the whole house may not seem like a lot, but when you're building a rafter and you're 2 foot off, you figure they'd notice the difference. I mean, if he has the plans, he'd kind of recognize that he built it. I mean, I don't know. I'm just confused on how he didn't see. Was he going off of different plans? Was he? I'm concerned on how it happened. Do you know, or, like, did he say how he ended up off 2 feet?
You know, I have seen them when they do the measurement, when they have the tool that they use, you know, to cut the angle, to come with the pitch that they need. He apparently made a mistake here. And, you know, the pitch was a little higher than what it should be.
Yeah, the reason I ask that is there's a difference, 8 foot to 10 foot is a big difference when you're when you're building a rafter. You'd see an 8 foot, you see a 10 foot, you know, it's 25% different when you're just building the rafter by itself. So if they're pre-building them and lifting them up to the frame, you'd notice the difference, right? I mean,
Let me explain one more thing here. If you look on the plan, the height that we are asking on these plans is 1 foot 4 inches. And the reason the denial letter says it is 1 foot 10 inches is that the foundation to begin with was 6 inch higher than what it should be. We submitted a foundation survey to building department, and it was fine. You know, they can understand that, okay, the foundation was 6 inch higher than what it should be. The other 1 foot 4 inches came to that extra height for the rafters, for the roof. So, and so it wasn't exactly 1 foot 10 or 2 feet, it's only 1 foot 4 inches more.
So you had a survey done of the foundation?
Yes, and this, before I could start framing, they should be approved, and it was approved.
I don't think it's a building department's responsibility. Is that what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying to you is that it is somewhat acceptable if the foundation is up to 6 inches higher than what it should be.
Right.
The foundation survey was
But
submitted.
that doesn't mean you raise the house another 6
No,
inches.
I'm not, no, that has nothing to do with the extra height of the rafter or the roof.
Right.
I'm saying the mistake for the roof was 1 foot 4 inches, not 1 foot 10.
So there were 2 errors. There was the error in the foundation and the error in the framing.
Yes,
Okay. What's the
but
pitch
it
on,
is
what's the pitch on the roof?
acceptable to building department, it is acceptable that, you know, the foundation is within 6 inches higher than what it should be.
Right, but that doesn't mean that the house is
No, it
allowed to be
doesn't
6
mean.
inches taller.
No, it doesn't mean.
So It got 6 inches taller. He built the same house on it that was originally designed without shortening the walls, and then he made the framing error. That's pretty much the whole story. What's the slope on the roof?
I think it is 10 over 10?
No.
What do you see?
10 feet high, right?
What's that?
The ridge is 10 feet from the floor of the attic, is that correct? 10 oh no, 10 elevation 44, 34.
Can I see?
Does this house have an attic?
It does have a loft. The loft is on the plan.
And there's a window up there, was that in the original plan?
Yes, they're on the plans. Yes.
So that gable is, so there's another room up there, right?
There is a loft.
So when they dormered it, did they have to, they had to amend the dormer then as well, right? Because it was originally built for a much shallower roof. And I noticed the dormer goes up to the same height as the roof, right? So
Yes.
does it come 1 foot, 4 inches short of the top of the roof? Or is the gable, is the dormer the same height as the roof? The top of the dormer the same height as the roof? Or is it 1 foot, 4 inches shorter? Like if we went out and looked at it, would it be the same height or would it be 1
No,
foot, 4
the
inches?
top of the dormer is the same as top of the ridge, They're all on the same height.
So did he, when he was building that, did he make a mistake or he just,
No,
because
on the plan, they are all on the same level. They're all on the same height. So once the main rafter and main roof is framed, then the dormer, follows.
So he didn't pre-build them up, he didn't pre-build the rafters for that, he built it while he was up there, he built it from he didn't build them and then lift them up. He built it up there, he framed it from the site, from the roof.
Yeah, from the roof.
If the picture's on these plans, I can't find it, but I'm sorry, I said if the pitch is on the plans, I can't find it, but
It looks like it was supposed to be a 7 on 12 on A3.
on A3. See, 7 and 12 is a very steep pitch.
And what did they end up building? Do you know the pitch of what they ended up building as opposed to 712?
I understand the pitch was 8 over 12. They went 10 over 12. A little less than 10, 9 foot.
So are these the original plans that are here?
No, this is the modified.
Oh, these are
plans.
modified. So they ended up
Yes.
with 712 is what
No,
it
it
is
was
now?
supposed to be 8 over 12.
Okay, so that would account for, probably 14 inches or so, something like that. Okay. Any other questions from the board? I mean, the framing was done incorrectly. As a result, the house is higher than it's supposed to be. We've established that at this point. Any other questions? Would anybody in the audience like to comment one way or the other? I think I'd like to reserve judgment on this one and see if Mr. Shokrian in the building department wants to have any more discussions, and we'll leave it open until next month.
Thank you.
Case number 3331, application of Gary Kowarski of 429 East Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-113.2 off-street parking, for new off-street parking in the front yard of 429 East Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 157, Lot 52, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Okay, David, name and address, please.
Gary Kowarski, 429 East Beach Street. Gary Kowarski, 429 East Beach Street.
Okay, so fabricate the spot?
So it's a legal two-family, but the apron is currently only 9 feet. It's only enough space for one car to park. I live on the first floor with my family. We have tenants living on the second floor. They are currently parked on the street and do not have off-street parking. So the purpose of this is to offer the tenants off-street parking. We want to expand the apron from 9 feet to, as much as 25 feet, or to be honest, whatever the board is willing to grant. And then also offer the parking in the front yard to go along with the apron.
Okay. So, Mr. Kowarski, how did you plan to, for the record, to access this additional spot that would be in the rear yard?
No, by driving straight in over the expanded apron.
So, for the record, I'm looking at the Lincoln, and we're looking at where exactly, describe the entrance to the existing, the driveway.
The driveway, the house is on the north side of East Beach Street. The driveway is all the way on the right side of the house. It's approximately 5 feet away from the property line. And it's not a real driveway right now, it's the two concrete lines. I don't know the technical term for it. So we basically want to take the current apron, refurbish it, and expand it.
All right, so I just want to get this straight. So right now, at the existing curb cut, you drive straight in and you go straight back to, what is it, garage?
Mhm.
That is the garage?
Correct.
So then, you're planning on repaving that entire area, including the grass?
We are planning on repaving that area, including the grass, but we also want to include as part of the driveway like a walking pathway using pavers.
So you're going to pave over the current walkway to the front door. Is that correct, or are you going to go further left to there?
I think the plan would be to pave over that, but at least part of that will include a paver walkway.
So the driveway's gonna remain on the right-hand side of this picture in terms of the line, and you're just gonna continue left to provide room for 2 cars, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So one parking spot will be in front of your living room window, is that right?
Yes.
And then a separate path to the front door after that?
Ideally, I would go to the edge of the house, the edge of the porch, yes.
You'd go all the way, and you'd include the line where the front doors are going in, so you'd go all the way out to there?
Yes. But I don't need the apron to go that far as well. The apron can be between 18 and 25. The purposes of expanding the apron is so we can go in and out of the driveway without having to move each other's cars.
The question I have, Mr. Kowarski, regarding this, right, is as I'm seeing the driveway now, so you have the Subaru that looks a Subaru, right? And the driveway looks like a small Subaru, so, in the driveway, that was permitted to go all the way to the garage door, right? Now, coming off, the front of the house, you have that white post that I see, is that correct? There's a
Correct.
post. Yeah, so now, how far does that post come off the house itself?
Distance from the house, or?
Yeah, to the post, as I see it on this photograph, right?
Mhm.
I'm holding up. So you have a car here. Clearly, there's no obstruction. You would park this car as far into the garage or right up to the garage door if you wanted to. But it appears that this post comes off the house a significant amount, which would not permit you to park the car any further than that post. So my question is, if you were to have a car that were larger than the smaller Subaru, and now you're eating up a couple of feet the distance from the post to the house, how far do you have with, let's say, a car that's 190 inches long, which is not tremendous, bigger than this, how far or how much distance would you have from that to the property line?
I think we attached the survey as well, but I think there's the,
If it's 20 feet, it's got to be, you know, it's got to be.
yeah, yeah. There is,
It probably would have it, but it's going to be significantly less by the space of that post, and also if it were to be a big, you know, a slightly bigger car.
you're talking about the post on the porch,
Yeah.
that's supporting,
The post right here.
You're going to park to the left of that, correct?
yes. Yeah, you can park in front of that, you can fit a full-length
So you're
car.
going to bring the car forward beyond the post to the left of it, or no?
You can't go beyond the post is
No,
attached to
because
the
then
porch.
you're going to obstruct the front of the house.
Right. So basically, what's the distance between that post and the front property line?
I think there's approximately 15 feet.
No, he's talking
The,
about
the
this.
porch, the porch is only about 5 feet off the house.
About 15 feet. So it's about 15 feet. Right. He's saying it's about 15 feet from here to here.
From the front of the porch to the property line,
But you see, what the problem that I'm just not getting, and I'm kind of confused, is that, again, the Subaru is not to the garage door in this photograph. It looks like there's a few feet, you know.
it's
in
a
front
few
of it
feet back, yes.
to the door. But now you're saying that the little front porch area that you have projects about 5 feet off the front of the house, right? So my question is, and I just want to get this straight because I don't want to shortchange you, but my question is, if you're saying that there's only about 15 feet from that post where the porch ends, right? Because you're not going to park the car right up to the porch. The question becomes then, if you're saying,
Rocco,
Yeah, I know.
the front of the house is 19
How you
point,
gonna have a
is 19.7 from the sidewalk. And then the porch is set back another 6 or 7 feet.
okay.
So that porch is like 25, at least 25 feet from the sidewalk.
So then the 9 by 20 spot really would exist very close to the property line, is my point. My point is if you're gonna have, you know, I mean, not many cars or trucks are 20 feet today, but certainly, you know, it's not unrealistic that cars are 15 feet. So let's say 15 feet, and you're saying you've got 25 feet, all right, so then you still have a reasonable amount of space before you get to the edge of the property line with an average sized car. Let's say an average to a larger than average sized car is anywhere between 180 to maybe 195 inches, 200 inches. There will still be sufficient space beyond the car. All right. I just wanted to satisfy that question, so we'll use on that. Do any other members of the board have any questions?
Going back to the same comments, you're turning 3/4 of your front yard into concrete, or are you going to do anything aesthetic to make it, to maintain it?
I'm happy to say on the record, we would aesthetically make it nicer. We plan on using pavers for a portion of it and some border stone as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that is a big change.
Well, I do live in the house and I do want it to look nice, so, yeah.
Okay? That satisfies that, right? No other questions? Any members of the audience would like to speak for or against the application? No, I'll move to grant. With the condition, again, as I mentioned in another case earlier, that there will be some aesthetic improvement in terms of, if anybody has any suggestions, well, you know, they're writing it to the approval, but you will have a conditional approval.
Did you say you were planning on some pavers?
Yeah, yes. And we will also have to redo, landscaping around the area as well.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second that.
Case number 3331, application of Gary Kowarski of 429 East Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-113.2 off-street parking, for new off-street parking in the front yard of 429 East Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 157, Lot 52, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Commissioner Morelli has introduced a motion to grant with conditions. Commissioner Acevedo has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Creighton?
Grant with condition.
Commissioner Acevedo?
Grant with condition.
Commissioner Lees?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant with conditions.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant with conditions.
This application has been granted with the conditions stated on the record. Case number 3332, application of Belinda D. Giovanni of 29 Barn Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance from the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.8C front yard, 9-1121 off-street parking, to remove the garage and new front yard deck at 29 Barn Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 223, Lot 38, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening, folks. Sir, your name and address.
Good evening, Dov Hadas, excuse me, architect. Dov Hadas. The property at 29 Barnes is a small lot, 57 by 40, and the house on that lot occupies almost the entire lot. The house was built, I believe, before 1940s. And it was built with it's a one-story house with a garage underneath it. The area of the property, the area of the lot is 2,280 square feet. The existing building area is 1,155 square feet. We're proposing a new deck to replace an existing deck, which is 134 square feet, for a total area of 1,289 square feet and a lot coverage of 56.5%. The rear yard is 2.4 feet. The side yard, one side yard is 6.5 feet, and the other side yard is 4.2 feet. The garage is located in the basement of this house, so we have to drive down about 3.5 feet below grade to get into the garage. The garage is built so that when you come out from the curb cut, there's a little bit of a hill, and then you go down into the garage. That is to eliminate flooding of the garage from the water coming down on the street. Mrs. Di Giovanna drives a Honda Accord, and she cannot even get into the garage because she cannot get over the hump. The car is too low. Her boyfriend, Matt, drives an SUV. He cannot get into the garage because the door is too short for his car. So the garage is really rendered useless for them. After the experience that we all have in Long Beach, we all know what happens to the basement garages. So they came up with the idea to totally eliminate the garage, close it off, and replace the deck that they have on the along the house. The deck was built sometimes with the house. We have a testimony from the title search company to say that the garage is the deck is actually a part of the was approved as a part of the plans that have been submitted for the house. My own experience, I know that sometimes the old houses decks were built a part of it. There was no specific permit for decks, or sometimes not even specific permit for the garage. So when the title company and title search company testify to that effect, I have to assume that the existing deck is legal. We want to replace that deck. We want to remove that. We want to make it actually a little bit smaller. We want to line it up with the side of the house. Currently, the deck projects into the side yard, into the 4.2 feet side yard. It projects about 12 inches, so that it creates about a 3 feet side yard. We want the new deck to eliminate that, and we want to line up the side of it with the side of the house. On the front yard, the existing deck actually projects beyond the property line, and we want to keep it back 8.5 inches inside the property line. We want to raise the deck slightly, and we want to enclose the underside of it so that they will have a storage space for the bicycle, for any other little items since they're not using the garage anyway, but they do need some storage. If you look at the site of the house, the location of the house, there is no other place to put a deck on that particular property except for the front of the house. So the house essentially has a little stepped front, and one side is about 10 feet setback, and the other side is 14 feet. On that side, we want to put the deck. So we want to have a deck that is semi-private, that will allow the Mrs. Giovanna and Matt some privacy and the ability to put a couple of chairs and a table. I don't think that the deck is going to accommodate much more than that. So we're asking the board to grant us the application to close off the garage, make it a safer condition for everybody, and to allow us to rebuild the deck or to build a brand new deck that's going to be better looking and slightly better with compliance with the current zoning laws. So that's why we're here. Thank you.
Mr. Hadass, what's the setback right now with the current deck?
The current
The front
deck is
yard.
actually projecting beyond the property line. It exceeds the property line by about 6 inches.
Did the owner ever use the garage? Or the?
I'm sorry?
Has the owner ever used the garage?
Have you ever used the garage?
I use the garage, but not for the car.
That's what I mean. I mean, so it's not like in general, you haven't been parking in there and now it's going to be out on the street. Is there parking on your side of the street?
Not on our side.
No, so closing off the driveway wouldn't help the neighborhood any? Okay.
Well, you could maintain the driveway as a parking space.
It's not deep enough.
It's not deep
Yeah,
enough?
my
No.
car bottoms out when I try to go into it.
No, but you're gonna make it flat in this plan, aren't you?
It's not long enough
Yeah.
to be able to
Not
park
deep
there.
enough. How deep is it, I'm sorry?
It's
14
only,
feet.
Huh?
14 feet?
14 feet. It's not legally deep enough, but it's pretty short for some things.
and the deck is what, 5 feet above grade level?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
So this doesn't have the height.
no.
And you say the deck currently goes beyond the property line, the whole deck, or just that one piece over by the front door?
The entire front of the deck projects about 8 inches beyond the property line.
It doesn't look like that.
I'm sorry?
The picture doesn't look like that, that's all.
Well, that's what the survey says.
This picture here.
I know, but the picture, I have the survey. The original survey shows the deck as being a little bit beyond the property line.
Oh, I see, the planters go beyond the property line too, that's why. Okay.
So you're coming all the way to the front.
We come in, we stay away 8.5 inches from the front.
Actually, it looks from the survey, it looks like the planters go beyond the property line, but the deck goes to the property line, it's just before it.
Well, it's close enough, yeah.
You're getting rid of that front concrete staircase?
Yes.
It's so architecturally connected to this house. I'm surprised it's an old Spanish Mediterranean house that I got.
Yeah, originally we wanted to preserve it, but it's not working very well with the deck. Originally, we wanted to preserve it. I wanted to keep that because I like the way it looks, but the,
It is the style of the house.
right.
With a little walk,
I'm sorry?
The siding kind of, and the siding.
That's the side of the deck that you're looking at?
That picture right there is like
Yeah.
horizontal siding.
Plans to keep it stucco. Plans to keep it stucco.
It's nice to keep the aesthetics of these old Long Beach homes because they're very unique to this house. That's why it's sad to see the staircase go.
the little path that leads to the steps now is going to go away because you're turning the steps. So what are you
Yes.
gonna- what are you going to do with that area there?
Because you're just going to use it for planting.
So you plan on building structure below the deck? Like, so you plan on replacing the deck but having structure below it?
Structure below it is a little confusing, but yeah, I'm planning to enclose off the area below the deck, yes.
I mean, I typically say a deck that may need a variance to build is one thing, building structure that goes beyond, the extent of where the front yard setback should be is a different thing for me at least. I don't know how it is. For other people, I don't know if I would be comfortable giving a variance in the front yard for structure.
I think it is actually safer, because if we're going to build the deck on regular posts and beams, then the deck itself, the surface of the deck is 5 feet and change above grade, so that once you have a header, once you have the column, it produces danger to people who walk around it. Somebody can bang their head, somebody can fall onto it, somebody...
If you said to come back and keep the deck at the...
Yeah, we can...
5 feet, I agree with that, but do you need the whole depth of the deck is the question, I think.
Yeah.
And what's the height? What will the height be of that area below the deck?
Of the what?
What will the height be, the area below the deck?
The area below the deck is going to be about 4 feet.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
And that's the other thing. Typically, when we give a front yard setback for a deck, it typically would not be beyond 1 foot from the property line. So
Well, we can set it back to 1 foot, that would be easy enough. Yeah, and we can also set the wall back. We can actually have a little cantilever on the deck itself.
Elbow room with the sidewalk is the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as Mr. Hadas, what, I guess the sentiment you're getting out of this is that I personally am not so opposed to building the structure.
Yeah.
Use it for whatever you want. I understand your reasoning to want to do it. But if we could fit it within the same, let's pretend it wasn't a structure, it was just beams. If we can still build it within the same parameter of typically what we would allow, that might be a little more palatable, I would think, for certainly the board and maybe people walking by. I mean, I don't see any reason why you just couldn't bring it in a little bit.
We could.
And cantilever the deck out of it. I mean, they're not really losing much, from it at all. And it would be what we would typically, approve, which is, in a sense, just allowing you to enclose what we always approve. So I don't see why it's a big deal.
We're certainly
So
amenable to that.
typically, we say 1 foot from the property line for the deck.
And 3 foot back.
Cantilever is
Yeah, I don't see a point.
Because you could hit your head on it, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I don't see the need for a 3-foot setback for the structure here. No.
Well, maybe not 3, but there should, because I'm looking, to me, it looks like you have a 14-foot deep deck, correct?
Yes.
8 foot 11, so you should just bring it back to 12 or something, I think would be.
Yeah, but it's a
perfectly acceptable.
It's a fairly narrow deck, and as I said, once you put in a couple of chairs and a table, and that's it, you run out of, you don't have any more space. So we want to keep it as big as possible.
Gives you plenty of room for that. We give out 10s, and they're sizable for a table and everything.
And it's still 10 foot wide, it looks like, right?
Yeah, we understand your concern. I'm sorry?
In West End, where they're on a 30, this is on, let's say, wider lot, but on a 30, we do allow 10 feet sometimes, and the people seem to be perfectly happy. I mean, there are people that, they started out with like 6, and then they're happy to come and get a couple more feet, 4 feet,
Yeah.
to be able to move around when you pull the chairs back, from the table.
Yeah, we could.
So if we could, get a little bit of reduction on this, I think it would be a little more palatable. And I think the applicants, your clients, would still, have a good amount of room to maneuver.
I
to
think
get
that
around,
we-
and
we-
just make it a little less intrusive.
Yeah.
Because,
Certainly-
now it's a little wider on 40s, 60s, but, everything is like right to the property line also, too,
We can easily
Okay.
push the edge of the deck to 12 inches beyond the property line, and we can set the front wall another foot over, so we're going to have 2 feet between the wall and the property
I
line.
do agree with you, because I would think, how old is the original house? The original house is probably what? This original house is about 70, 80 years old, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of those homes.
More than that.
And at one time I lived in that neighborhood, a lot of those homes, it's just, the garages are useless. I mean, you can't really fit. I don't know what they were built for. I guess they were built for Model A's.
That's 100 years
Yeah,
ago, yeah.
and such, those cars were a lot lower, they weren't any SUVs, I mean, so, this is relative to when the house was built.
Yeah.
It serves no purpose today, I understand. So, If there's no other questions from my board members,
Well,
are
let's
there?
agree on how much. Could you pull it back to 2 feet, or 12-foot deck?
I could pull the deck for 12 feet and the wall another foot, so it's going to be 2 feet and 1 foot cantilever.
Sounds
You guys okay with that? I know he can.
Yeah. Anybody in the audience would like to speak for or against this case? No. I'm going to move to grant with the condition that Mr. Hadassah noted. We'll note that in the record. Anybody want a second?
I'll second that with condition.
Case number 3332, application of Melinda DiGiovanna of 29 Barnes Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.8C front yard, 9-1121 off-street parking, to remove the garage and new front yard deck at 29 Barnes Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 223, Lot 38 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application with conditions. Commissioner Acevedo has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Creighton?
Deny.
Commissioner Acevedo?
Grant with condition.
Commissioner Lees?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant with conditions.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant with conditions.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant with condition.
This application has been granted with the conditions stated on the record.
Thank you so much.
Case number 3333, application of Summit Development and Management Corp. of 175 Roosevelt Boulevard, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.7J subdivision, subdividing a 80 by 100 parcel into two 40 by 100 parcels to construct one two-family dwelling and one one-family dwelling at 529 East Chester Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 168, Lot 51, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman. Dennis G. Kelly, 120 West Park Avenue, Suite 311, Long Beach, New York, 11561. Here on behalf of the applicant, Summit Development and Management Corp. I have a handout again for you.
I'll be right there.
Good evening.
Yeah, the other one's for me. So we can all follow up. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, what I've handed Mrs. Lynch is a package of documents I'm going to refer to as I proceed with my presentation to the board. We're seeking to subdivide the lot that's located at well, it's not a lot, it's a house, as you can see in the photograph that we put up on the easel. It's a house located at 529 East Chester Street here in Long Beach. It's a 80 by 100 lot. We're seeking to subdivide the lot into two 40 by 100s for the purposes of building one FEMA-compliant house, one family, and one two-family FEMA-compliant house. I'll just give you some background, and you can look at your package as we go. My client purchased the house in August of 2009, weeks before the remapping for the flood maps on the South Shore. The home was built in 1951. The first floor presently consists of a one-car garage, a laundry room with a boiler, and that one boiler services the entire house, one kitchen, one living room, 3 bedrooms, and 2 full baths. This two-family house on the second floor consists of 2 small bedrooms, 1 full bath, 1 kitchen, 1 living room that can access the balcony or deck that's on the flat roof of the garage on the first floor. The second floor roof is significantly sloped, making upstairs very small. Renovations presently are required for the home to address issues, serious issues concerning electrical. The roof needs to be replaced. The sewer recently collapsed and was replaced on an emergency basis. The home only has 1 boiler, as I referenced before, and the slab itself needs to be addressed and probably replaced. Presently, the city tax assessor's office, as of this morning, valued the structure itself, not including the land, at $538,477. Renovations at this point would exceed 50% of the value of that valuation. We estimate in excess of $270,000. What's being proposed, that is the subdivision into two 40 by 100 lots and the erection of brand-new FEMA-compliant homes, one being a one-family and the other being a two-family, will not create an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. And to demonstrate that, you see in what I've handed you a one-sheet piece of paper which delineates the use and the size of the lots on Eastchester, the 500 block of Eastchester between Franklin Boulevard and Neptune Boulevard. As you see depicted on the handout and on what Mr. Myari is now putting up on the easel for us, 17 of the 27 homes are two-family residents. That's 63% of that block is two-family. 10 out of 27 of the homes are single-family residences. That's 37% of the block. 4 out of 27 of the homes, or 15% of the homes, are actually less than 40 by 100 lots. 60% of the homes are 40 by 100 lots. That means 75% of the block is 40 by 100 or less than 40 by 100.
Kelly, I understand your argument here, and we're following this, but, you know, quite honestly, that's all very nice, but why would we want to make the situation, you know, even more egregious? What I see here is that you're going where you're going with this, is that basically, you know, the block is already turned, and it's, you know, a two-family block, and the one-family homes are becoming really the minority, and they're going to continue to become the minority. But, you know, we have a house that is a one-family house, or it was really a two-family house, I should say, that needs some serious renovations. You've got a client who's a builder, okay, who throws up houses, and I'm sure his cost would be nothing compared to what my cost would be if I owned that house to fix it. And I just don't see, you know, it's almost like a bad chain of events with these subdivisions. I mean, it's been approved at times, but I just don't see the argument where we're going with this. And honestly, I don't want you to waste your time so much, because I would not buy this argument that the percentage of the homes are already two families. Why would we want to make it worse? You know, we're not, what are we gaining from this? What's the city gaining?
Well,
what are we gaining from it? So I don't think, certainly wouldn't convince me with this, because I don't know how the other members of the board would feel about it, but it is valid to a point for a theoretical argument, but on a practical level, I don't want to make the block more two families than it already is, personally.
Well, I just want to.
I mean, maybe you're trying to set that there's a precedent already.
Well, I'll give you some explanations. I understand your perspective, but I think let's talk about.
I'm telling you that so as you're making the argument,
right,
you can maybe tailor it to what I'm thinking.
Okay. Well, first off, I'll try to do that in the first instance by reacting to what you said. So, you're looking at it with us adding more two families.
Right.
Well, that's not true. Okay, because what we're proposing is a two-family and a one-family. What we're doing is we're adding a house.
We're adding a house.
Right. So let's talk about what you were saying a little further. The zone was originally, and still is, for two-family use and one-family use. Okay. So we're not looking to make, you use the term, make the problem more egregious. You have to identify the problem. I don't know. You, and with all due respect.
I've identified it from where I'm sitting.
Exactly. And now I'm going to try to convince you by talking it from our perspective. So, and the other thing I'm doing, and you all know this because I try to do this every time I come up, and that is address the 5 factors of the code. So the first.
No question, you're very competent.
No. I wouldn't think for a second that you were questioning me, though. I'm sure that you've had moments of saying, what is he talking about?
I wanted you to know what I was thinking.
Right.
So if you're gonna make an argument, maybe you'll address my
Okay.
concern.
Okay.
How's that?
So what, I'll jump off script and then I'm going to go back on script to talk a little bit more about. So, and you've heard this from me before, we're going to build, or Mr. Maieri is going to build, 2 FEMA-compliant, brand spanking new, let's say, relatively speaking, state-of-the-art, efficient homes. We want those, we need those. This house was built the wrong way when I guess, things seemed to be pretty good and they didn't have necessarily a Sandy, the last storm being in 38 before it was built in 51. So it's on grade, it's wide, it's on the ground, ostensibly, and it's not the best construction in the world. I mean, we were just talking about the last applicant up here about the beautiful house on Barnes, and I haven't seen pictures of it, but given what Commissioner Alton was saying about the Spanish style, they don't make them like that anymore. My house was built in 38. You could take a howitzer to it, the howitzer missile is going to bounce off of it. That's not this, okay? So, we fight, and we have been for decades. You and I served together here
And we agree a lot of times, too.
What's that?
I said, and we agree a lot of times.
Yes, yeah, we do. And about overdevelopment, too many people, congestion on the block, parking is a huge issue everywhere now. I get that, but new housing, if you can encourage, my perspective, if you can encourage new FEMA-compliant housing, and you're not creating an undesirable impact on the character of the neighborhood, and it kind of fits, then I think overall, from a policy perspective, and in terms of our own healthy environment and our housing, I think it's worthwhile. I'll continue. And you're going to balk at what I'm about to say, but then I'm going to try to prove it with numbers.
Can I just interrupt real quick?
Sure.
I understand it's a 2-family house, so my question is, since your client is a builder and what you're trying to do is, make neighborhood nicer and make a house that is FEMA compliant and up, but then not the ground level stuff, why not just build a brand new FEMA compliant 2-family house?
Right, well, because of...
Within the code, which you are allowed to.
And it's a great question, because it's one that I even asked my client, because we went through a whole host of numbers. You'll see them on the back of the packet. We don't have to go through them just yet. I'm going to take one step at a time. But it's a great question because it comes down to numbers. And numbers are significant, because numbers are incentives or disincentives, depending upon what the numbers are. So I hope to demonstrate that as we go forward. And that segues into this point. There really is no viable alternative of what we're proposing, because the renovations need to be done, and the additional work will trigger the further costs of making renovations prohibitively expensive to build just one house, FEMA-compliant, elevated house on that property. Because what's really there needs to be knocked down. I don't think renovations really fits the word. And if you're going to build a new house, it has to be FEMA-compliant, as you know. On September 11, 2009, the federal government, specifically FEMA, issued new regulations that require homes to be elevated if they're new constructions, or if the renovation of the home costs more than 50% of the value of the structure, and that's why I gave you that number earlier. Here, the cost will exceed the value of the structure. The structure is valued at $538, $477, and if we did the renovations themselves, we would end up having to lift. So it really is a knockdown.
Who did the estimate of the repair costs?
My client, because as the chairman said, he's a sophisticated builder and developer. There is a hardship here, but it's not self-created. Mr. Maieri purchased this home before Sandy and before the flood maps were changed. So if we go to the financial analysis, the last page of your packet, and just so the record reflects what I've submitted in the packet, is not only the survey, 2 certificates of occupancy, one from 51 and I believe one from the 70s as well. That one sheet of paper indicating the the lots and their dimensions as well as their uses. I have an aerial photograph from Google, which I happen to like to do, but I don't know if it has any real impact on anyone, but that gives the exact block with the pin in it. I took a photograph of every single house on the block, both sides, which were just, it's 24 photographs altogether. And that'll give you some indication of what the housing looks like there. The homes won't be a detriment to the neighbors, and in fact, I'll hand up, you have copies of them, but I'll hand up the originals to Mrs. Lynch of 2 sheets of petition that were signed. And they each have their own already. Yeah, those are the originals.
Okay.
The immediate neighbors at 533, 521, 537, and 512 East Chester all have given their support, as you can see, as indicated in the petition I handed up, along with those who live on the other side or behind the house at 522 and 528 East Market have signed the petition as well. And as you will also see, if you go a little further in your packet, to a one-page sheet, which actually indicates the plans along with the on-street parking, that we might lose a half a parking space on-street if we build 2 houses. So the building of the 2 houses will not create a detriment because the immediate next-door neighbors aren't complaining, and I don't know if there's anybody else in the neighborhood who are going to complain. And as to that issue of parking, when we're going to have 2 curb cuts, if we are fortunate enough to be able to build 2 houses, we lose about 10 feet of the curb than what we have now. The variance is not substantial in the context of Residence F because we allow for both 1 family and 2 families, and the minimum lot size is 40 by 100. The requested variance will not have an adverse physical or environmental impact to the neighborhood, simply again because, as I said before, we're going to build 2 efficient, state-of-the-art, FEMA-compliant houses. If anything, they'll be better for the environment and the physical location. Now, as to the financial analysis as to the hardship, that's this last piece of paper that you each have at the back of your packet. And the paper just before that indicates the current interest rate for construction loans is 8.5%. And that's been submitted as part of the evidence here. Okay, if we were able to build a new single-family home, this is the left side of the ledger, our rate of return would be 5.9%. And we can go through the numbers if you want, but I believe they speak for themselves. If you also build a new 2-family home, Commissioner Lease, the rate of return would be 12.3%, but that's only if you split the land cost for each home, right? So if the 2 lots, each individual lot at 40 by 100, the land cost would be $351,000 for each. If you built 1 FEMA-compliant home on the entire 80 by 100, and let's say hypothetically it was 7,200 square feet, which we believe we would be able to build as of right, it would cost $2 million to build.
Can I just ask
Sure.
one
Sure,
question?
sure.
You're referencing a lot of numbers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
One number, does your client live in this home?
No.
So he rents the downstairs and upstairs, correct?
Right.
since 2009.
Right.
So why isn't that income included on your spreadsheet?
Well, I'll let him address that because I think it's a good question. I'll let him address that. But we're talking about the rate of return to build the home. So some numbers are prohibitive. So just give you, for instance, the 5.9% is not worth doing. You won't do that. You won't go through the time, cost, and all the other factors it takes to build a home. These are just the raw numbers of building the home. There's a whole lot of other stuff that's happening at the same time.
My understanding, just throwing, like, and I'm not gonna get into the thing with numbers, but
Mhm.
just saying on the low side, that a two-family house, just say at minimum, you're collecting $5,000 on a rent, just to keep the numbers simple, that's $60,000 a year. You have taxes probably about 20, so you're showing a net profit of about $40,000.
Well, I'll let him.
You've had this home since 2009, which is over 12 years. 12 years times, $40,000, and that I might be on the low end of all this. So you're looking at a little over $500,000 in profit.
I think you're on the high end, and I'll let him address it. But what I have to do in order to prove my case is show detailed numbers as to what the hardship is. The hardship, bear in mind, is this. That house needs to be replaced. If he is required to build a new FEMA-compliant house, a two-family house, of, let's say, approximately the same size, it's not worth the investment.
You didn't do an analysis of that here, though, did you?
Well, the analysis is, the analysis here is if we built one, the reason why we did this analysis was to show what is doable. So the ultimate rate of return, given the two houses, one two-family at 5.9% rate of return, and the two-family house at 12.3% rate of return, for the whole project gives him 9.1%.
Right, but there's no analysis of one two-family house on this lot.
Okay, so I have that. We do have that. Here, we can put this up. So this is one two-family house of 4,600 square feet. The cost to build that is $1.684 million, $1,684,000. You couldn't sell that house for anywhere near that on 529 East Chester in Long Beach. So you're not building that house. And that's a little bit bigger than what's there now, which I believe is 3,420 square feet, which is not a nice two-family house because the second floor is small.
Dennis, could you explain why it would be $1.6 million to build a single two-family house, but on this analysis, to build this two-family house, it's $1.1 million?
Right, because the square footage is different.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So that one,
Square foot's the same. The cost per square foot is different.
So he's saying he built a bigger two-family.
no, two-family. Right. So, and if we built, and this is not going to happen because it's prohibitively expensive, but if we, without even asking for any variances, if we build as big as we could build on the 80 by 100, it would be a 7,200 square foot house. It would literally cost millions, and it's not worth doing because no one's going to buy it. And as far as renting it, I don't know how much you would have to rent it.
You don't have to build the maximum size.
No, we're not. We don't want to.
Right, but you
Right.
said-
We think this is far smarter because it's going to allow for two decent houses
But
with
you
some.
could do a one, two-family house, and it doesn't have to be 7,600 square feet.
Right, and that's if you do a smaller house, let's say less than, that's 4,600. If you did 4,200, you're still at $1,599,000 to build the house.
Mr. Kelly, those figures can certainly be disputed. My question is, if it's such a burden to build this one, two-family house, then why do it? Just stay with what you have. Spend $150,000 to fix the place that you have up. Continue to rent it out. You're showing a profit. Why do it? Why do it?
So I'll let Mr. Maieri speak because I think you have some decent questions, Commissioner Lees and Commissioner Acevedo. because we have to. I think that's why I opened, hold a second, that's why I opened, Commissioner, with the fact that we got significant renovations that must be done. I mean, this is a dilapidated house.
We'd want to consider like an independent viewpoint on the numbers and the renovation costs, but I do agree with the point that this 351 up top, you're taking 85,000 improvements over 13 years, but you're not putting any increment, so that changes the percentages dramatically if you're going to talk about the cost of improving the past 13 years.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, what are you saying?
I'm looking at these, unless I'm missing something, that the top.
I think I just misunderstood something that you were saying.
Improvement costs, it's making it sound like the house has just been sitting there.
So you want to know what Commissioner Lees was asking?
Yeah, I'm voicing, I think that the income has got to be part of the numbers and the bottom line. It has to be.
Okay, I'll let Mr. Meyer see if we can address that.
$7,000 a year in improvements, but there's no income.
Okay,
Good evening.
Good evening,
Charles
Mr.
Rafi
Meyer.
Mayeri,
Just give us your name and address,
175 Roosevelt Boulevard, Long Beach, New York. So the house needs major improvement, as Mr. Dennis Kelly said. Second floor is very small, and I haven't had any good lucks with 3 previous tenants that I had over there. The first tenant was with the house when I bought it. She was there for like 3 years. Then I had another tenant, and the last tenant did not pay me for 10 months. It took me a year to evict her. So it doesn't attract good people, nice people over there. Downstairs, I'm getting about $3,200. It's a 3-bedroom house. So my original idea was to take the roof off and put a 3-bedroom upstairs, because that's what people are looking for, and you can get good clients. I have a number of houses that I'm renting. I'm planning to sell these because it doesn't pay. Right now, the taxes are so high, it doesn't pay to hold on to houses anymore.
How much are the taxes? I'm just curious.
On this house, I think it's about $15,000 or $14,000. The roof is very brittle. I can show you the picture. I even packed the roof from the last floor. You see it right over here.
Yeah, well, we see the roof damage, the house needs a roof.
The flat roof is leaking badly, and we have electric issues throughout the house. The crawl space does not have rat slab or any kind of slab, so the water comes up. It's very damp, and the people downstairs, they want to move out because they're not happy there. So the house is not really a suitable house for living.
Was this the condition of the house when you purchased
No,
it?
it wasn't this bad. No, after Sandy, it really became really bad. Water came up, and it did damages, but not substantial damage that to be demolished.
But you
But in
didn't
order to
receive
do
any-
renovation, I have to do substantial work on the house.
Right.
It's going to be over 50%, and that triggers the FEMA. Now, if I have to raise the house, it costs me $50,000 just to raise it, elevate it,
Right.
without a foundation. So I might as well just demolish it and build brand new house. But I'm not going to build the house that I'm allowed by the code. I can build 3,600 square feet, 45% land coverage I can do, but it doesn't make sense to do that. So a real nice house would be around 4,000, 4,200, 4,400 square feet house. And to do that, even at $185, $200 a square feet, it doesn't pay. Nobody would buy it. It would be over $1.6 million.
But in today's market, you'd still get 800,000 to 900,000 because of the plot size. And if somebody bought it for that, and they wanted to live there, they wouldn't care about the profit. It would be their home.
You see, I've been
It's a
in.
different attitude altogether, right?
Yes, I've been in the Long Beach market since 1986. The highest home that sold in the F zone in that area between Long Beach Road and Neptune Boulevard, from the Bay to Park Avenue, was $1 million. And that was recent, a few months ago. To build a house to sell over $1 million, and that was a FEMA compliance. To build a house over there at 1.6 million, I could never recover. nobody would buy it anyway. The taxes would be higher because the land is 80 by 100. The taxes probably on the new house would be over $30,000, $35,000. It doesn't make economically, but if you divide it into two houses, it would work. The price is going to be lower.
I'm saying it would sell as is, I'm sure, for 800 to 900,000.
No, they would not buy it. Nobody would pay that kind.
West End are going for 800,000.
West End is a different market. West End is very, very hot market.
By 60 lots.
Desirable. You can sell per square foot much higher in West End than here. If I have houses in West End, it will go quickly. East side is completely different than the west side. West End is different. It's very desirable, highly desirable for rental, for people to move in to buy. It's a different market. Right now, they have a house in West End for $1.5 million. New house for sale. I think if you build...
It's a problematic situation, I understand. You know, and it would not pay for you to just get rid of the house as is and just...
No, I'm too much into the land. It's true I made money on it. It's not that I didn't make money on it. But it does not bring the income that it's supposed to because it needs work. Whoever comes in here, they don't want to pay.
I'm a little surprised that the house is in the condition that you're stating that it's in. I understand after Hurricane Sandy that perhaps the house became more in disrepair. I received quite a bit of money to fix my house. Were there any renovations made to the house after Sandy?
No, the water came up about 6 inches above first floor. I applied for the Sandy, and they said because it was only 6 inches up, you're not.
You didn't receive any funds whatsoever.
Maybe I get about $5,000 for the flooring that I did. That's all. I can show you the papers. I send you the papers if you like.
You didn't receive any insurance money?
Insurance,
to
no.
repair?
No. I didn't have any flood insurance.
So 269 that we talked about earlier tonight, it's listed at 1.6 million.
The 269 that Mr. Kelly said?
Yeah.
He was trying to make the point that if it's over 50% of the the house value, it is over 50%. No matter what you do to this house, it's going to be a lot more than 5.
You were saying you couldn't sell a two-family house for what it would cost you to develop. And this two-family house on a much smaller lot is going for $1.6 million.
Which house?
269.
Oh, the one that came for the variance.
Yeah.
Mr. Shopian. He's asking 1.6. I don't think he's going to get it. He will never get that number. First of all, we haven't had any new two-family houses. It's a very rarity to find a brand new two-family houses. There is almost non-existent. The last one that he built is the one on Penn Street. He had 100 by 100. He got a subdivision of a 1-family and 2-family in 300 block of East Penn about 2 years ago, I think. He got it. That's one of them. And then in this one, on Neptune, there is nothing else for as long as I remember that's been built. Maybe about 10, 15 years. Hardly any two-family houses. Most of the houses sold in 2022, in that block that I told you, it's selling between 700,000 to 800, 1 or 2 for 900,000.
For two-family or one?
Two-family. 1-family, 2 of them sold over 750,000, and the rest were it's average around 700,000.
Okay. The numbers are all over the place.
There's a house on East Market right around for me for $950. It's a two-family house.
What number?
I'm not sure. It's on the
400 block?
400 block of East Market.
Yes.
And that
It's an
house
old house, renovated. It's not FEMA compliance. They will never get it. They will never get that number. Because I'm in the market. I'm buying and selling. I'm in the market. I have number of houses here. I know the market. It will never sell that number. Even investors will not touch that house. First of all, 2 units are on the ground level. It's like a, how can I say, maybe about a foot below the grade. The units are not desirable. People ask, they're not going to get it.
Some of those numbers are also summer of '21 numbers, right? That people are still overly exuberant about the market, but the market's not overly exuberant.
It's slowed down, but they're still getting their numbers.
It depends.
It's come down a little bit. This market hasn't been affected. The volumes have gone down, no doubt. It takes longer, it takes more time to run the market.
We're, it's quiet.
I mean, you guys know. I'm not.
I have a house right now currently for sale at 447 East Harrison, 60 by 100, one family house. At the time that I built it in 2009, it was FEMA compliance. It's only 3 feet above the ground. Right now, it's not because of the flood zone change. Right now, the insurance on that flood insurance is going to be over $3,000, $3,500. Nobody's touching it. It's been sitting in the market for 8 months. I have it for rent. Nobody's renting. The market is very quiet. So I think to have 2 houses, we have more airspace, more corridor, and I have adjacent properties on my east, on my west, and on my north side. All of them agreeing. They like to see a new house over there. They like to see 2 new houses. I explained to them, and I can show you the parking spots. Because I know that off-street parking is very important, and it should be. If I build a new 2-family house, even if I want to renovate this, I need another curb cut. Because at present time, I have only 14-foot curb cut for 1 car. Whoever wants to come over here to live here, they need parking. So I still have to cut another spot over here. Even if I cut it over here, the nearest curb cut on my neighbor, 521, is 40 feet. I can fit 2 cars here. And over here next to me, I have 20 feet. I can fit another car here. And if I place this at 10 feet, like this, I can put 2 more cars here. So I have a total of 5. If I build 2 houses, I still have 5 cars over here. The way you set up the side yard, it could work. So I understand. There are a lot of people over there, a lot of houses over there are 2-family, and they don't park in their garages. It's a problem. These houses, they have plenty parking underneath. They could be tandem. There's a storage area. They don't have to put stuff in the garage. They have, they have storage area. I think it's a very good thing to have for the neighborhood and for the town. We are in need of new 2-family houses.
Well, I think if you put the increment for the past 10 years and we ran the numbers, you're going to be up over 7%, which I don't see as a problem.
When you say numbers, Commissioner, you're talking about the rent.
Well, the numbers he's run here, he seems to be putting in improvements over 13 years and there's no income. So I'm just saying that I think that this is I mean, you did your own numbers. And you're selling it for no fault. I expect you to sell it that way, but I think this is worth taking a good look at.
The numbers are very reasonable. Even though the cost of construction has gone up dramatically, I'm doing $185 per square feet. It's going to cost other people a lot more than this.
You remember that old game, what doesn't belong and why? If you look at this, what doesn't belong and why? It's this. Why? It's an albatross. It's a difficult property to develop in a block that is 40 by 100 houses, middle-class houses.
The current house is right now 50 feet wide, 51 feet wide. If I put a second floor on it, it's going to be 51 feet. The new house is going to be 27 feet wide. You put both of them together, it's going to be you know, and it still has open spaces all around.
It's just that all these two-family homes, they're not all, a lot of them are old two-family homes. So each of these houses have 3 to 5 cars, and now we're adding more density to the block. That's really.
But I'm taking the, whatever
more
parking
cars,
I
bigger-
need,
bigger-
I'm
bigger
providing the
Two very
parking.
big, a two-family house, it's much bigger than what you have, 3 over 3 minimum, plus another house. So you could be up to like 8 cars between the two or more.
A single-family house could have 4 cars. You never know.
Yeah,
It could have.
I could. I'm just saying that it will increase the density of the block.
These
significantly. That's all.
two-family houses, they have 3 small bedrooms. They are smaller in terms of sizes, rooms.
What's the market, you know, I mean, I know we're doing like a little view of like this, the analysis, let's say a little analysis right here. And so we understand that the market was hot, the market was hotter in the West End. We understand that there was money that was made on this house. And that in the present 2023 market, the numbers have all changed, right? When would you say that this transition, this big transition has occurred? Because it just seems like, I was just looking, there's a house 2 doors, 3 doors away from me on Olive Street and stuff, right? Kind of the style of the house of Mr. Shokri's that not Mr. Shokri, Mr. Mayeri, that's on a single floor level slab. That type of home with a dormer on the top, and the house has been expanded a little bit in the back over the years, but it's on a 60, not an 80, and it's a single-family home. And the house, and I knew that this house sold over the summer, sold. They were asking 1.2 this house, and it was a bidding war. They sold the house for 1.25 in 3 days. Now, I know the conditions are different, but this is a house that, to me, and I've been inside the house a number of times, it was like a rambling wide ranch like Mr. Shokri's that's been, it's not even dormer, that second floor, they have it as a master bedroom kind of area, and it's been built backwards. But this is a house on East Olive, 3 doors from mine. I got 1.25 in 3 days. And a house that to me maybe doesn't need work, it was pretty clean, but on a 60. So my question is, when did the market so dramatically change since July of this year? This is
The
July.
interest rate did.
On Zillow, huh?
The interest rate.
The interest rate was high in July.
From
It was over 5.
from
in
August, it really took a dive. People start not buying. A lot of contracts fell.
And interest rates, they say, are going to be dropping a little bit now that I have a crystal ball in front of me.
I'm buying a house right now, a 2-family house,
It's
and I'm
going
getting
to
a
be
mortgage.
not now.
It's about 6%.
Yeah, that's right.
6%, but
That's right.
I show income. For somebody who doesn't have an income, it might be a lot more. It might be harder, so they don't buy. Even the rental is not good. People are not renting, they are shying away. I never had vacancies.
It's a cycle.
The housing market is in recession. Technically it is. Because I'm telling you, it's quiet out there. And we were at a pace, go back to summer of '21, you had to get the contract signed right away because somebody else was going to say,
Right.
I'll do 100,000 more.
Yeah, they were going over the
And
asking
that's how
price.
this house was.
Yes.
1.2, you know, it went $5,000 over the asking price
Right.
in a 3-day bidding war, you know? But I understand what your
Well,
point
Long Beach
is,
has an
and Mr.
inventory
Mayeri's
problem.
point.
Things sell here anyway. I mean, hear it all the
Agreed.
time. There's a
Agreed.
broker here today, he told me there's a major inventory problem.
Well,
here, and that's-
you know, the price,
We can make it better.
And that's holding our prices up. So I don't think you would have a problem selling this as is if you staged it and making a nice profit for somebody who wants.
look, numbers aside, because the numbers are all over the place, and the numbers are constantly changing, and, you know, a lot of the information is provided by the tenant. The case against subdivisions is to keep the density of the neighborhoods down. Now, we have a 2-family house, and now we're going to have 3 families. So I don't see how that helps the city keep the density down.
But you're having a FEMA compliance house that has plenty parking, that I can provide 4 parking space for the single-family house if I need to.
I understand that a new FEMA-complying
With a
house
10-foot curb cut.
is better. But again, you're increasing the density from 2 living units to 3 living units. And I'm not convinced at this
Three
point.
bigger living units.
I'm sorry?
3 bigger living units, too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
we want-
did, the president has been denying these lately, the East Park Avenue house, I mean, not that it matters, but you're saying
Yeah, the thing,
it makes things awkward.
the thing is that too, and I feel, you know, for Mr. Myeri, having rented at one point a small apartment, you know, you don't really get stable, reliable people that are renting a very small apartment. They're usually more transient. But I think to address Commissioner Leonetti's concern is that now we have a beautiful home, right? You build a beautiful 2-family, a beautiful 1-family. So chances are that who's renting that little apartment was probably a single person, and usually, you know, sometimes you have problems with them. But now you build these bigger apartments, you're probably gonna have another family, 2 families, you know, more kids maybe, more kids go into the school system, you know. It increases the burden on the costs on the neighborhood, because now instead of perhaps having one single person, a woman who didn't pay the rent, you're saying, but now you got a family of 5, 4, you know, living in that same dwelling.
Times 3.
That increases the burden on the block, it increases the burden on the school, it increases the density burden that a family, not that, you know, families are burdens, but you know what I mean, that extra people utilizing more city services places a burden, as opposed to one single woman, perhaps didn't pay a rent, living in that small apartment. Now you've got 3 larger dwellings that are gonna bring more people to that block. Am I correct, Commissioner, that's what you were going for?
Well, that's why, you know, subdivisions are very heavily discouraged in the city for the last how many years?
Since January 4th, 2000.
Okay.
You know, and.
That's when we
yeah,
wrote
you
the
know,
laws, my
yes,
first city council
we've
meeting.
granted them, we might have even granted some, you know, for Mr. Myeri, I don't remember if there was a house on Beach, I think we gave some, we have given subdivisions, no question.
Fulton, and
There's no
348
question.
is Fulton.
Yeah,
yes.
there's no question.
But
the thing- But since everything's on a case-by-case basis, you know, it places a burden on us at every instance of the case to evaluate that specific case and, you know, how does this distinguish itself that it should get relief from the code, you know? Perhaps in the past, you know, your client, Mr. Myers, has presented things that we've approved. I mean, because he made a very poignant case that he should get relief from the code, and we would continue to do that, I'm sure, because he has had a good relationship with this, you know, town, city, for, as he said, 35 years, you know, that he's been building here, you know, and I remember plenty of things we approved. But unfortunately, this might be a little different, you know, and I think this raises questions with the subdivision, with the increasing density.
Do we really have increasing density?
Huh?
Do we really have increasing density? Because I will tell you that we don't.
Right now on the boardwalk, we're getting thousands of new residents over the next few years.
Well, well,
The city.
right, but, you know, that's been in the work for
But
decades.
it's
It's
been-
finally
yeah,
happening, and
yeah.
what I fear is that the city all of a sudden, looking at it going up, going, oh my God, what did we do?
That's going on.
Right? And I'm sure that's a reaction, but I wonder, I'm gonna do homework on the numbers. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
the
not so
numbers have
sure
to be
that
looked at, but just,
they're
you know,
going through the
just
roof.
as a quick aside, because, you know, Mr. Meyer is a developer, and, you know, this is something that I've never discussed with the board, and it might be applicable to maybe some larger apartments that we might be building in the future. I went to a Chamber of Commerce out in Stony Brook, where my business, and LIPA was out there, or PSE&G, right, discussing how we, as business people, could save money with, you know, light bulbs and all kinds of energy efficient things. And a guy asked a very poignant question at the end. He said, why would you guys be interested in teaching us how to save money and be more energy efficient when doesn't it cut your profit? So the guy from PSE&G was very honest. He said, we don't have the money to build any new power plants on Long Island now or in the foreseeable future. So with everybody buying electric cars and more electric usage, We're not gonna be able to meet this demand unless you people start saving energy. So we worry about the Lloyd Aquifer, we worry about all these different things in Long Beach that has Long Beach hit the tipping point. I think you brought that up in one of the cases. Nobody's talked about the energy electrical demand. The LIPA clearly stated, I don't know, last year, that they don't have the capacity or money to build new power plants. So we do have to watch the development little by little, because we don't need rolling blackouts, you know, as everybody buys Teslas and electric cars and everything else, that now every unit that's built has to save more energy. And as you mentioned, big units on the boardwalk. And I know this doesn't sound like much because it's just one more two-family house, you know, but it's a two-family here, it's a two-family there, it's another two-family. And that's why I think the board is a little skittish about looking at these cases, you know, starting from the point that we're affecting a subdivision, which, you know, as you know, we're not very crazy about. But now when you start factoring this new concern about energy that I never even thought about, you know, and probably nobody on this board has even considered that, like PSCG stated, not in the foreseeable future will they have the money to build any new energy.
The reason they give rebates is because it's actually cheaper for them to give you money for saving electricity than to spend the money on a new power plant.
You know, and again,
So that's
is
why.
this gonna be a tremendous usage that Mr. Mayor is gonna do? No, it's not. You know, it's building just
Actually, it's
another
gonna
house.
use
No.
less electric than the older house, the new house. It's all LED, it's all spray foam. It's very green, the house.
Okay. I mean, I think we've really kind of bantered this around a lot, and we understand. I don't know really if there's any more point in just continue to beat this, you know, into the ground. Does anybody else on the board have any other questions? I'd like to
I
just
really believe it's
put
a
it out
good
to the
improvement
audience.
for the area.
Would anybody in the audience like to weigh in on this? Sir. Give us your name and address, please, for the record. Are you for
Thank
or
you.
against? I'm sorry?
I'm opposed.
Okay. Name and address.
Name and address, please.
Was there any, before I start, because usually we do it in favor, was there anyone in favor who wanted to speak? No? Okay. Name and address, please, sir.
Yeah, my name is John Gilmore. I live at 550 East Chester Street, so I live on the block. I'm opposed to this subdivision for quite a few reasons. First off, let's talk about parking. We've got a real problem with parking on that block and around East School. It's a very dense block. If you look on the second ad, I guess the lawyer there had a map of the block. I have a map of the block too. There is a fair number of two-unit houses on that block as it is. And there's also quite a number, there's about 6 or 7 houses that have maybe a 30-foot width. So they're very, very narrow. And again, consequently, a lot more dense. And we have all kinds of parking problems on that block right now. For example, just starting kind of down at Neptune and working our way down, there is a daycare in the Temple Emmanuel. And twice a day, we have a line half a block long of double-bar cars of the parents going in and picking up their children. And I understand why they have to do it. I mean, I think it would make a lot of sense if there was a place for them to park, but that's just not happening because people on the street need parking, and also at East School, the employees park on our street as well, right? So that's one issue. If you take a look at the third page of my little handout here, folks, you'll see what I'm talking about. That first page there is the moms unloading or loading up their kids there, and they always do that way with their doors open. And I don't know if you know East Chester, but you know, sometimes people come down that street to dodge the lights on Park Avenue, and they'll go by my house at 45 miles an hour, right? And then sometimes you'll have the moms out there loading the cars. So the parking is a real problem. And if you take a look at the second picture here, this is the house right next to Temple Emmanuel, okay? They have to have these cones and a sign saying don't park here, because we frequently end up with people either completely obstructing our driveways or partially obstructing our driveways. If you take a look at the very last page, folks, there's a picture here. This is typically how people park on the street. You get as close to the curb cut as you possibly can, right? And the last thing that happens as well, as far as parking goes, let's see, this is my next door neighbor. We frequently have to park blocking our own driveways because that's the only thing that's available, right? Which is, it's not a huge thing, but it is a convenience and indicative of how the problem is. And so I think we're talking adding probably at least another 2 to 4 cars on the street, right? So I don't know where they're going to go. So that's a problem. Then there's just also the other problems of just having, more people in a denser neighborhood and on a very dense block to begin with, right? And then there's some other issues as well, is that I've been on the block for 20 years, and that block has changed significantly in the last 20 years. When I first moved in, there was maybe only about half a dozen owner-occupied houses, and everything else was a rental, right? And over the years, it's slowly changed. There's been more and more owner-occupied single-family and some of the double-family, two-family houses as well. And it has significantly improved the house, the quality of the street. We had some really bad landlords on that street. I mean, who really milked the properties for everything they can get out of it. The guy next door at 554, he owned my house, 550. He sold that quite a while ago and hanging on 554. He never put a dime in that thing for 20 years, right? And there were other houses like that as well. And those houses are gone now, okay? And which leads me, I guess, to the house in question, 529. When I first moved in, that was without question the nicest house on the street, right? And now it is, well, you saw the pictures, all right? It's in really bad shape. And it sounds to me what has happened is the current owner has simply neglected an asset. He has depreciated that house without making the necessary investments to maintain that asset and to maintain that home. And now he's coming here and begging for mercy. Please give me the subdivision so I can make the money I expect to make with this asset that I've run into the ground. Right? And I've been in that house. I've known people who lived in that house. Okay, and that was a while ago, and back then it was actually a pretty nice house. But if you look at it now, it leaves a lot to be desired. Right? He was talking about all the things that were going wrong in the house. Well, that's what it looks like now. Okay, I guess he had to have his sewer repaired. And if you take a look at it, they did the most slapdash job you can possibly imagine. They broke up the sidewalk, replaced it with asphalt. It's clearly that I don't know if it's a building code, but I can't say that sidewalk's up to code. I mean, they got the cones there because it's a hazard to pedestrians. Right? On top of that, this is another picture of 529. They have a single car driveway there, which they use for 2 cars, and they've been doing that for a very long time, right? And as you can see, there's just so the cars are off on the side, and it just kind of turned into mud, right? So, from what I know about how 529 is being used over the years, I am really concerned at what might happen with additional units, particularly if they're rental units, right? Because you walk on our block, and I think you probably know what I'm talking about, you know immediately whether it's an owner-occupied building or one that isn't. It's just obvious, right? The owner-occupied buildings are much better maintained, painted, fixed, the whole 9 yards, because people are living there with their families, their children, and they're protecting their investment and their asset, right? And then there are other places where people are treating it as a business, because it is a business for them. And they want to make as much money from that asset as they possibly can, and some people want to put as little into that asset as possible, And I was a little bit taken what the owner of the property said, is that I gather this property is 100 feet wide by 80, okay? I have a 30-foot by 80 property, okay? He's paying $15,000 a year in taxes. I'm paying $15,000 a year in taxes. So from my perspective, he has had a huge subsidy from the city of Long Beach for a very, very long time. So, you know, he kind of.
I have a house on a 40.
Pardon me?
I have a house on a 40 and I'm paying $22,000 because the house is 22 years old.
Well,
So of course it was appraised higher. So I
Well,
understand.
we got to get
So if
new
I was
guys to
paying
do the
$15,000 on
tax
my
appraisal.
Family, I'd be happy.
Right. So, I just don't see how there's anything in it for the people on the street. It seems to me that we could end up with a couple of really slummy properties quite quickly. Who knows what he's going to do with it, you know? And I don't think it would be good for me. I don't think it would be good for my property values. I don't think it would be good for the quality of life on the street. And I don't think it would be particularly good for Long Beach. You know, I tend to agree with Mr. Lees, or Lice, I don't know how to pronounce your name, I'm sorry. That, I mean, he can do things to that property if he wants to, you know. It's unfortunate that he didn't protect his investment over the years. You know, it's unfortunate that the market isn't where he wants it to be at this point, you know, but that's reality. I don't see how the, you know, the zoning code of the city of Long Beach needs to be modified to, you know, meet the revenue needs of a particular business. So that's what I have to say. So I'm very much opposed.
Thank you, Mr. Gilmore.
Thank you.
Very much. Is there anybody else? I think we're gonna. You want to share? Just. I think at this point, we probably want to make a motion. I mean, I think we want to sit on this and review things. So, you know, we'll reserve the.
Thank you.
The vote until next month.
Parkway closes at 10, Robert. Parkway closes at 10.
Case number 1891, application of Dr. Hal Waldman of 401 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.1A use, 9-106.2 mixed use prohibited, 9-112.14 off-street parking, for renewal of a conditional temporary variance to use the premises as a one-family dwelling and a veterinarian's office at 401 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 37, lots 42 through 45 on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
Just to be clear for the record, you know, transparency, I'm going to recuse myself because I think Dr. Wolf is a fine veterinarian and he's my veterinarian. And, you know, he's a fine man, but I'm going to step down.
I also have to recuse myself. I live across the street, so.
Okay. Can somebody stay?
And everybody else uses them as a vet too, so.
Where did Mike go?
Maybe you ran to the restaurant.
Oh, no, Mike will be right.
I guess Commissioner Leone was left for a few minutes.
Well, yeah.
Just wait.
Here he is. Here he is.
Okay, here he is. Mike, I'm recusing myself because Dr. Wolf is my vet.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Dennis G. Kelly, 120 West Park Avenue, Suite 311, Long Beach, New York, 01561. Here on behalf of the applicant, Dr. Hal Waldman.
Weren't you just here a couple of months ago on this?
It feels like it, doesn't it? I actually put it in my calendar, and before you know it, there it is again. So I think this is the fifth or sixth one I've done.
Has anything substantially changed in
Nothing's
the
changed. We're using-
situation or the conditions, or what's going on there?
Dr. Waldman is still using the same crematory. You may remember years ago that was an issue where the dead dog's gone. And,
To heaven.
yes, exactly. Thank God for that. And then the second issue was the medical waste. He's still using the same service, City Waste, who comes regularly to pick up the medical waste. He hasn't had any issues. So we're asking for a renewal of the conditional temporary 2-year permit. However, and I've done this before, Dr. Waldman would ask that we extend it to 5 years so we don't have to come back every 2 years?
I don't think we can do that at this time, but, I don't know if we have to get the city council
Something
involved.
that we're reviewing with the zoning code.
Yeah.
To make temporary conditional variances to extend
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
But we just can't unilaterally do that.
Okay.
We don't want to drag you out here any more than necessary either. And does anybody else have any other questions or comments for them? All right. Usually you bring several people with you.
Oh, you remember that?
You gotta bring dogs in.
Would anyone in the audience like to be for or against? Okay. All right. I'll make a motion to grant.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Case number 1891, application of Dr. Hal Waldman of 401 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, for a variance in the following sections of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.1a use, 9-106.2 mixed use prohibited, 9-112.14 off-street parking, for renewal of a conditional temporary variance to use the premises as a one-family dwelling and a veterinarian's office at 401 West Beach Street, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 37, lots 42 through 35. Commissioner Leonetti has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Acevedo has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton?
Grant.
Commissioner Acevedo?
Grant.
Commissioner Leese?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant with 2-year temporary conditions.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Thank you very much.
This application has been granted.
Thanks for your patience before.
Case number 3334, application of Dolores Nelson of Trust of 250 East 240th Street, Bronx, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. 9-105.5C front yard for a new FEMA-compliant house at 90 Pennsylvania Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 242, Lot 9, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map.
The reason I'm here is to, oh, sorry. Oh, sure. Dolores Nelson, 250 East 240th Street, Bronx, New York.
You're whispering.
What?
Whispering.
I am?
Yeah.
I'm usually pretty loud. Okay, maybe. Okay. Oh, okay. Now I'll be screaming. Okay. Yeah. Did you get the? Yeah, sure. Dolores Nelson, 250 East 240th Street, Bronx, New York.
But we're here on behalf of 90 Pennsylvania Avenue in Long Beach.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for waiting all this time. All right, and I guess you gave us your name and address for the record?
Yes.
Okay. 3 times. All right, so please tell us why you're here.
The reason we're here is to ask for a variance on the deck of a new build.
So basically, your proposal of the deck is basically bringing you here for the 1-foot front yard that we grant routinely. Now, I just wanted to review this. I know it says it on the paper, but I want it on the record too. This is a brand-new house.
Right.
We're constructing this house, and do you know how far the deck projects from the front of the structure? Do you have any idea?
Actually, okay.
Sorry,
The deck that I wanted, that we had hoped for, was 9 feet. That's what's on.
How much?
9 feet.
9 feet. That's what's on. No?
So then we
Oh, sorry.
go on than that. So that's basically the only reason that you are here is because your deck is non-compliant for that amount of space. So basically, the deck is going to be 1 foot from the property line, and I'm assuming that the footings are 2 feet in from that. So in other words, the footings that hold up the deck are 3 feet from the property line. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's all I had. So, since there's, I don't think any questions from the board, and there's no one outside waiting, I would say for the record, there's no one here for or against, I will make a motion to grant.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Case number 3334, application of Dolores Nelson of 250 East 240th Street, Bronx, New York, for a variance in the following section of the zoning code of ordinances of the city of Long Beach, New York. Hold on one second. 905.5C front yard for a new FEMA-compliant house at 90 Pennsylvania Avenue, Long Beach, New York, also known as Section 59, Block 242, Lot 9, on the Nassau County Land and Tax Map. Chairman Morelli has introduced a motion to grant the application. Commissioner Creighton has seconded the motion. Commissioner Alton? Commissioner Creighton?
Grant.
Commissioner Acevedo?
Grant.
Commissioner Leese?
Grant.
Commissioner Brooks?
Grant.
Commissioner Leonetti?
Grant.
Chairman Morelli?
Grant.
This application has been granted.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank
The
you.
official vote?
I hope it was worth waiting for.
Yeah, that, but I guess it's worth it.
Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Just say if everybody else was that quick.
Oh, look what I just found. I just found my pen.
Dude, 39 minutes.
Yeah, you better hurry up.
He just found his
When
pen.
is that gonna end, that project?
It's gonna go.
Joe, when's that project